everyone, welcome to Mini Adventures. This is session 1, which is called Home is Where the Heart Is, and we're going to be making this little box, house-shaped box mini album. This is one of my favourite types of mini album to make, so it's literally the most simple box you've ever made. Then I've cut a panel for the front and the back in a house shape. You'll find that there's a house template in your kit, and the first thing I did was draw around. We cut it out first and then draw around that onto the piece of wood grain paper. Try to preserve as much of it as possible, so I went for the bottom left and I cut the two houses really close together to each other. One is for the front and one is for the back. I just mirrored them there to make sure that I didn't have any overhangs and they were exactly the same, because I'm going to have the wood grain inside showing on the outside of both the front and the back. Does that make sense? So that's the first thing I did was I cut the two house shapes. I've distressed the edges, and one of those house shapes is going to become my front cover, so the front house on the box, and the other one will become the back cover. Not that there's a huge amount that will go on the back cover, but the front cover is going to be very pretty, and it's going to be turned into a shaker pocket. Now that I've cut those two houses, the next thing I'm going to do is create my box. And I wanted to do this as simply as possible. So rather than creating a box net, effectively, I think that's what they're called, I've gone for 2 strips of cardstock. So I've used the beeswax cardstock, and I've made 2 strips. And the reason I did it this way was because it's the most economical way of using the cardstock, and I wanted to keep as much of it as possible. So I have just created the measurements, and the templates are all inside your instructions, so I won't explain those now, but you can see that the first piece I've made is the side pieces. I can't remember what I've called them on the instructions. But that's just those 2 pieces just fold up, and the bottom bit there is just the base of the box. And then here I have to make the side panels. So this is going to be the piece that goes all the way around, but it's not long enough. So I need my box to be bigger than 12 inches in terms of the strip of card that I need. So I create a strip of cardstock, and I think it's 14 inches long in total. And then the only way I've done that is by sticking 2 pieces together. Again, it's all explained in your instructions, but I've created one long piece of cardstock basically, and then I have scored it, and then I am able to assemble the box just like that. So you can see I have an inner piece and an outer piece. So the inner piece is this one here, and it's going to be stuck together just like that, so super easy. And then the second one is just going to wrap around either side of it. And then those 2 pieces on the side just fold up, and you can see that I'm just sticking this together with regular tape. Quite often, whenever there's some major stresses on a box, then my tape isn't good enough. It will not hold it together well enough. It will come apart. So therefore I tend to machine stitch most things, but you can't machine stitch a box. It just doesn't work. You can't fit it through the machine. I wanted to make sure that my box could stay together well enough without having to be sewn in place, therefore I've created the box in this way. Plus, as well, of course, it's economical with the cardstock. So there's no way this box is going to come apart because there's no major stresses on the corners. When you have little tabs and something's pushing against them, when you use a box net, that's what tends to come apart for me. So that's what I was trying kind of to avoid. Okay, so moving on to the front cover, I've just grabbed those letters home from the Hearth and Home Simple Stories collection. That's what we're using for this mini album, is the Simple Stories Hearth and Home collection. It really is very home and family themed. It's a really lovely collection, actually. I love the colours. It's all very warm and homely, and kind of comforting. Anyway, I've grabbed the word home. They're separate individual letters from the Hearth and Home ephemera pack. I think it's called Bits and Pieces. I have just outlined those letters with a black journaling pen and doodled a board around them, and that's just to make them kind of stand out a bit more. I'm going to need them to stand out a little bit more as well than that, because they are fairly dark, and they blend into the wood grain background behind as well, and I just wanted to make them stand out a bit better than that. So I'm actually going to mount them onto some white card. Now you have some spare white cardstock on the paper sorry, it's not paper, it's card that your template is on. So you've got a piece of cardstock which is A4 white smooth card, and it has the house template, and it has the brad bound spine template on it as well, but at the bottom it's completely clear, so you can use that as additional cardstock, and I used that a couple of times in this album for journaling spots and that kind of thing. So as I'm making this video, I'm not making it in the same order as the instructions are written. Please do follow the instructions, because they are in a much more sensible order than what I make it in reality, because of course I have planned this mini album before I started making it, but best laid plans, never quite work. And because I didn't exactly have a plan to follow, not a perfect plan anyway, I wanted to also make sure that everything that I had got planned I could fit out of the papers and the cards I'd got. So I'm doing a bit of work now currently on my inserts. So there are 7 individual little booklets that will go inside the box. I'm just doing a little bit of work on them now. So I cut the tags apart and punched holes in those. I have just cut a strip off of the 3x4 elements paper and created a little fold out booklet for that just by scoring in between the journaling cards. This one is the little envelope. So there's 2 envelopes. One is the kind of the yellow one with the flowers in the middle, and one is the wood grain one. So I cut those. I think they are 5 inches square. Do please refer to your instructions, but I'm pretty sure they're 5 inches square to start off with, and then folding them in this origami fashion to make little envelopes. Now there is a tutorial for this. It will be on the Facebook group. It's by me, but I've linked the original tutorial that I worked from in the instructions, but I have modified it ever so slightly just to make it a little bit easier to understand exactly what is done. So if you would like to follow mine, that's fine. Please go ahead and do so. That will be on the Facebook group. By the time you see this video, it should already be there. If not, please give me a nudge. But it should be. They are really quite simple to make. It's my go-to origami tutorial. I do this all the time for envelopes. It just works well. It's self-sealing, so you don't need any tape or anything. So I've made 2, one out of the yellow paper and one from the wood grain paper, both exactly the same size. One I'm going to turn into a shaker pocket, and the other one is going to be an envelope that both opens and closes, whereas the one with the shaker pocket will stay open the whole time. So I'm now moving on to the little insert that is a envelope made of circles. So it's a square envelope, but it's made out of 4 circles. Now, you will need to cut your circles. You will need to use a compass and a pencil to get the right size, and then cut them out. Alternatively, you can use metal dies, or you could use a silhouette machine if you have access to either of those. You just need 4 circles the same size. They could be slightly bigger or slightly smaller than mine. It doesn't really matter. You'll just need to adjust the size of the things that are going inside. And the way you do this is you just take the 4 circles, fold each one in half, and then you overlap them so that so one's under, one's over, one's under, one's over, until they make a square. It doesn't look like a square when it's all open like this, but you can see the score lines where the circles are folded in half, they make a square. And you just need to add a little bit of tape underneath where the circles overlap, and then you will find that this turns into the most adorable envelope, and you'll probably love how it turns out, because I'm always amazed by how good these turn out. I love them. So really super cute little envelopes, and again, really easy. 4 circles folded in half, and that is it. That is literally it. Okay, so moving on to another one of the little individual booklets, and I really want to make this a shaker pocket. So basically we have a whole pack of chipboard frames in this kit, and of course Most of them are too big for mini albums. But there's 2 that are not, and that's the 2 that we have used, and the others will be for other projects. I have used the house on the front cover, and I've used the check coloured frame on the front of this Let's Eat journaling card here. You'll see that I'm going to turn them both into shaker pockets now. So I'd started work on my front cover earlier, but I'm actually I didn't actually finish it. I'm going to work on these 2 shaker pockets at the same time. Well, actually, it's 3 shaker pockets because the envelope is a shaker pocket as well. So you can see what I did with the house. I just backed it with a piece of acetate. I'm going to do the same with the Let's Eat frame as well. The frame doesn't say Let's Eat. I think it says Love, but it's going to go on the Let's Eat journaling card. So I'm cutting a piece of acetate literally just to fit behind that as well. I'm just going to stick those down with regular tape. It doesn't need to be popped up or anything like that. It just has to be stuck flat against the back of the frame. And then for the envelope, I'm just cutting a piece of acetate the same size. You can see what I've done there. I've cut it to the size of the envelope, slotted it inside the envelope, and then I've drawn lines using the envelope itself as a template, and then I'm just cutting those out. So now I have this kind of envelope insert that fits inside the envelope, this envelope will remain open at all times. Once the acetate is in place, it really doesn't want to close, so it's going to stay open at all times. So that acetate now fits inside. I'm not going to stick the one that's inside the envelope. I'm not going to stick that down at the moment. I think I might add some tape right at the very bottom so that it's stuck in right at the bottom of the envelope. But I'm just making the top triangle of that envelope a shaker pocket, and you'll see how I do that in just a moment. Okay, so my acetate is stuck down on those top 2, and then I'm just working on the envelope as well. Before I move on to the envelope, I'm just going to build a wall of foam pads around the outside edges of my other 2, and I just really quickly showed you my completed envelope there already. So what I did was I sewed around 2 sides, and you can see it down there on the left. I've just included a triangle. I've actually machine stitched it. You could hand stitch it, but I machine stitched it. I sewed around 2 sides. I left one side open, put some sequins in, and then sewed on the other side closed. For the other 2, I have built a wall of foam pads going all the way around the aperture on the reverse of the frame, and then I have carefully sprinkled in the sequins, and then I have closed it up with the journaling card for the Let's Eat one, and the house front cover for the other one. Okay, so it's all kind of coming along. It's working well. I'm happy with how it's looking. So I'm just going to finish off no, I'm not. I thought I was going to finish off my front cover, but I'm not. I'm going to create the loaded pocket, which is the final insert for this album. So I have pulled out some journaling cards from the 3x4 elements paper, the black one, the yellow one, and then a piece of beeswax card as well. And I'm just going to cut them all to size. So the black one is 3x4, and then the yellow one is going to be 3/4 of an inch smaller, and the beeswax cardstock is going to be 3/4 of an inch smaller than that. So we have these 3 layers. They're all the same width, and I'm going to add that This Is Everything I Ever Wanted journaling card onto the front. That is from the ephemera, or the bits and pieces rather, not from the journaling card paper. So I've just gone off to my sewing machine to sew around 3 sides of that loaded pocket. That is going to trap them all together and create 2 little pockets that I can tuck things into. So there you go. You can see that I have just done that there. I'm just tying off my threads. Now, what I do with my machine stitch threads is I pull them through to the back, and then I tie them, and then I cut them off quite close, but I put a dot of glue, like either glossy accents or PVA glue, just a liquid adhesive, onto the knot so that it doesn't come undone. Of course, machine stitching is not designed to be tied off like that, but that's the way I do it if the back is on show and the knots are on show. So yeah, okay, so you can see that I've got the basics of most of my inserts done. I'm just going to now, I think, finish off my front cover. We'll see if I actually do that now or not. Yep, so I think I'm just going through the ephemera, trying to find things that will work for this front cover. Of course, because it's a mini book, it's quite small. I don't want to over clutter the front cover, but I do want to bring in some other things. I also don't want to cover up my my beautiful sequin shaker that I've just made. Of course, that does kind of happen a bit, but it's okay. So I've decided to opt for a spray of flowers over on the left-hand side. And to say the word home, at the moment I'm trying to figure out where I can get an extra bit of white cardstock from, and then it dawned on me that I can use the cardstock from the template. So that's what I do in the end. So I'm just going to stick those on there. I stick them flat, but I overlap them. You saw when they were all in a line, they were too long to sit on the front cover of the mini album. So they are overlapped and they're doodled round as well, so that we have a good definition around the letters. And then I'm going to trim around the outside edge of that white cardstock as well. And it really does make it stand out really so much better than what it did when they were just sitting flat on top of the wood grain. So I'm really pleased that I did do that. It just makes all the difference. Just makes those letters stand out so well, and it doesn't look out of place or anything. It just looks great. So I'm just so happy with how that turned out. So yeah, just trimming around it. It depends how detailed you want to go. You could trim through the O and you could trim through the E as well. I don't know what I've done. Let's find out. I trimmed out the O for the home. I'm not sure I would have trimmed out the middle of the E. I guess we'll find out in just a second. But this is a good little tip. Even if you're doing this on scrapbooking layouts, you can do this with your thickers. So you can mount them onto a piece of white, and it especially works so well if you're putting it onto patterned paper in the background. So have that bit of white separation border around your letters is just brilliant. Okay, so no, I don't think I did trim out the middle of the E. I haven't done yet, so I might do it later. I've fussy cut out a flower or half a flower from the paper with all the flowers on it. I've also pulled out some flower ephemera, and I've got that little phrase that says, love lives here. Oh, you should see the screen I'm looking at while I am voiceovering this. It's so tiny, so I really have to squint at it, and I don't have my mini album in front of me. I'm just going to pop that on with foam pads because I like things to have a lot of dimension. So the home title is going on with foam pads, and I think Love Lives Here is actually stuck on flat. Yes, there we go, it is, because I stick it onto the frame itself rather than over the where the aperture falls. Okay, so flowers at the top there. I've got my golden flower, part flower, and I pop it up there. So I have it flush with the roof rather than flush with the top of the square. And I like how that looks. There's another fussy cut flower there, also from the same paper, and then a tiny little one from the Bits and Pieces pack. Just getting that stuck down properly. And then we're going to add a little heart there. I wasn't quite sure what colour to go for, but I think the yellow one stands out best. So yeah, I'm going to go for that one. And that one I am going to put on foam pads. Now the reason I've done that is because part of the heart sits on the frame and the other part sits within the aperture. So therefore they're on different levels. So I've got a foam pad on one side and stuck flat on the other side. Okay, so now my front cover is ready to stick to my box, and so is my back cover. So I'm just going to get those stuck in place. So you can see how easy it is to make this album. I know I should have done it all at the beginning, and please do follow the instructions and do everything at the beginning. But make the box first. It's really, really straightforward, and then start working on all of your inserts. Hopefully you will have already done that. Okay, so there we go. I've got all of my little bits and pieces inside the album now. And now I have added some pom-pom trim. Now I did that off camera because I just did. I don't know why I did, but I did it off camera. You didn't see me add it, but I just applied a little bit of tape and popped that in place. And now I wanted to just show you all of my inserts. I've gone through, I've worked out my photos, and I've got my 7 inserts or booklets all ready to be embellished. So the embellishment takes a while. Please do refer to all the photos. Now, there are photos on your instructions. Of course, they're small, and the print quality is never as good as seeing a high resolution digital image. It would be even better to see the album in real life, wouldn't it? But unfortunately, I can't do that. I can't send one to everybody, unfortunately. Okay, so what I was going to say, my point about that was, please have a look at the very high resolution images that are in the album on the Facebook group. And that way you'll be able to zoom in and you'll be able to see all of the details. So any problems, let me know, but I think that's probably the best way of doing it. But definitely you have your instruction, you have the photos on the instructions, and that will give you a starting point. And then if you need to see more detail, then you can nip onto the Facebook group and have a look at the photos there. Okay, this is the Tag mini album. Again, not doing anything in order, of course, but this is the Tag mini album. And I have got 9 tags. Now, you don't have to have 9 tags. I have 9 because I have 9 photos for this section of my album. So these are all the outside areas of our house. So we've got garden, that's several garden photos, paddling pool, the big play equipment that we have. I've got the kids dancing in the garden. I've got Theo by the back fence. I've got us on our driveway. And I had the kids on their scooters in our local alleyway. That doesn't sound great, but we go down it every day for school. So that's why I have photos of kids on scooters in an alleyway. So these are all the outside elements. I have literally stuck a photo to every tag. I've got the 2 other little tags as well from the ephemera. One of them was a rectangle and I cut it into a tag shape to match the other one. But I've literally, the tag album is 1 photo per tag. So pick your photos and then you could have more or less tags is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I have now moved on to this little wood grain envelope. This is the one that's not a shake pocket, so therefore it's one that kind of opens and closes. I've just decorating the back with a little bit of ephemera. I just felt that it was a bit boring on the back and it needed something. And also I didn't know what to do with that big kind of chair piece of ephemera. And I thought, you know what, it fits perfectly on the back of that envelope. I might as well use it because it's probably not going to go onto a layout about anything else. So it can go there. So I've popped that on the back along with a few other bits. I've got a photo on the front, and then my little insert is just a piece of beeswax cardstock scored into 4 sections, and I have a photo on all sections. Now note the way that the book folds. So I've taken it from the right hand edge and folded in on itself until I get to the final panel, which I then fold the other way. So it creates a little booklet. I prefer that rather than a concertina style because then it stays together better and it feels like it's an actual book that you can open rather than rather than a concertina, which doesn't close together very well. So I've got 4 photos in that section, and therefore I have nowhere to do any journaling. So I'm going to add a little journaling spot panel onto the reverse of that piece, and I've taken that from the cardstock from the template. So now I'm just going to add some little tiny embellishments to this section. These are all kind of random photos of things that happen around our house. Squirrel feeding. My daughter is showing us her Viking longboat that's made out of milk cartons and actually had to float. I do love these school projects, honestly. It has to be I had to be waterproof. A waterproof Viking longboat. I'll tell you what, these things couldn't get much harder, could they? Anyway, we made it out of milk cartons and it did float and no water came in, although I did stick it together with a hot glue gun and actually melt part of the plastic at one point. So, you know, all good fun. So we had to do some repairs. But there you go. Yeah, so then I just wanted to make the other panels not boring, not with, they couldn't have nothing on them. So just added some ephemera to the other panels, particularly the front one, of course. Now, your instructions tell you to add your piece of thread before you add all your photos. That's very, very sensible advice, because then what I had to do was kind of lift up my already stuck down photo in order to get the cotton in place. What I've done is I pierced a hole. Here we go, I'm lifting up my photo. I've pierced a hole in between the second and third photo on the fold, and I've just attached a piece of thread behind the second photo, and then I'm just going to poke that through to the other side. So this piece of thread, say, is just going to sit there and then be pierced through and go through to the other side, so it appears on the outside. And then I'm just going to use that to wrap around the little booklet and you call it a closure. It couldn't be more simple. I hate closures that are fiddly and difficult to open and close, because like if you have to tie a bow, for example, because then you just don't do it. So therefore, to have a piece of thread that you can just literally wrap around probably couldn't be any easier. So for me, that works really well as a mini album closure. So I've just done that, and then my little booklet can go inside the envelope, and I'm just going to decorate the front with some fussy cut flowers and that other little tiny flower there, which is from the ephemera, and then some stickers as well. So puffy stickers are brilliant for mini albums because they're tiny. So that was really good. Okay, so where am I up to now? Right, I think I've finished making the album itself and all the decorations, and now I'm making the tassel for the tag book. So I've taken a piece of cardstock, scraps cardstock, which is, I think it's 1 1/4. Please refer to your instructions. I've wrapped my mustard embroidery thread around it multiple times. Now, I've got myself in a bit of a pickle here because I didn't quite know what I was doing. So I took it all off of the cardstock and then realised that was definitely not the way to do it. So wrap it around the cardstock, okay, and then cut the end off, and then put a piece of thread through and tie it at the top there. And now I'm going to remove that piece of thread later, but I needed that to be there in order to hold the whole thing together. And then I was able to snip the bottom edges so that creates the tassel. So there you go, that's the tassel in its initial form. And then I wanted to put the little wrapped bit around the top of the tassel, and I wanted to do that in a different coloured thread. So I grabbed the black and I've just tied that round, and then I'm going to wrap it round a few times. So the very end is going to be tucked under where I wrap it round, and then I'm getting all tied up with the bit at the top. So I'm sure you'll do better than me. And then I've just put that through a needle, and then I'm just going to run that through the tassel itself a few times in order to kind of effectively tie it off. I'm not going to be able to tie a knot and hide it, so I've just kind of wrapped that round. I'm just going to hide the end. So there we go, that's looking pretty good. I'm also going to put some glue on it so that it doesn't unravel at a later date. There you go, you can see me doing it there. It's just wet glue, and I'm just going to put that in place so that hopefully will stay in place. Okay, so I now don't need that piece of mustard thread that I tied through the top. That was literally for like a placeholder. I'm going to remove that later, but I'm just going to use my black thread to create the tassel itself. And I'm going to show you, first of all, how to make some paper beads. So follow the template that's in your instructions. This piece of paper is it's like 1/2 inch wide by, I don't know, 3 inches or so long. And you have to cut it into a triangle shape. So you have one wide end and it goes into a point. But seriously, have a look at the template for that. And then you just roll it with, and I used a paper piercing tool, and I rolled it around that. And that creates this fabulous bead. Now I put some tape on the inside, and then I added some wet adhesive right for the very end. Just wrap it around the paper piercing tool like that, and then you end up with this fabulous little paper bead. So I think this is so awesome. And then again, I apply some glue around the outside edge to make sure that it doesn't come undone at a later date. So there I have my 2 little beads and a black pom-pom. You'll find that in your embellishment bag. And I'm just taking my black thread that I've got onto a needle, and I've gone through the beads, the pom-pom, and now I'm going to go through the top of that tassel that we made. Got myself into a bit of a pickle. Basically, I thought that I should have done it differently, but in the end, I didn't need to do that, and I shouldn't have just undone what I just did. So do ignore me. Yeah, so what I've done now, I'm just threading the beads onto that thread, I don't know if I'll start again in a minute. And I've tied some knots as well along the way. Now, the holes for the paper beads are bigger than the knots that I can tie, so the knots don't really do very much. But I put one at the top, and then I created another loop by leaving a space and then tying another knot, and then I've chopped that off. So I created a loop that I can put onto the book ring. I'm going to switch over to the flip through now. So here is the completed completed home mini album. You can see it's a little box, and it has the house on both sides, and the front is a shaker pocket. Okay, and then inside we have all of the inserts. So that's one side. So the first one, a little envelope with a shaker at the top of the envelope. This envelope will always stay open. I have a photo on the front, and a little insert booklet, which has just got some thread wrapped round to hold it closed. And okay, opens out like that. You just close that up again, pop it back inside. Next one, Let's Eat, where it's one of the chipboard frames. And then on the back, it's just a kind of loaded pocket type thing. So you just pull all of the photos out, and I have photos and journaling. Some are back-to-back photos, and some have journaling on the back or the front. Okay. And next is a little tag book with the cute little tassel, pom-pom, little homemade beads, little homemade tassel book frame. So I've just got the tags from the tags paper, and I've gone for one tag per photo. So I have lots of space for photos and journaling as well. Okay, these are all the outdoor photos. Next up, we have this little envelope that's made out of circles. So it's 4 circles, and they're just folded in half and stuck together, and then they create this fabulous envelope here. And then inside here, just have several inserts. So just have a little card on the back that I made, and then we have got all of these pieces. That's just a piece of ephemera with nothing on the back, but you could write on there. And then I have all my photos that all have journaling on the reverse with the wood grain paper. So then now to fold this back up, you have to go over, under, over, under. So there we go. Then we have this little booklet here, which just is the journaling cards from the 3x4 Elements paper, and the strip of them, so it's a strip of 4. You can see them on the back there, yeah. But here we've got journaling card, and then in here I've got 2 little vellum pockets that hold my photos and journaling, and a piece of ephemera that's actually cut from a journaling card. And then this little piece of ribbon just holds it closed so it doesn't fall open. That's a very, very simple, easy closure to make. Then we have this envelope here, which is one that is closed. It's always closed. Well, you can obviously open it, but you can close it. Whereas the one with the shaker pocket remains open at all times. There we go. And then another little booklet, same as the previous one. Just unwrap the twine or thread, and then this little booklet opens out like this. So just have a strip there of my photos, and then journaling and embellishments on the back. Just to point out that I made a mistake. My daughter was talking to me when I wrote this, and instead of writing board, I wrote board as in board game, because she was talking about board games. I wrote the wrong word, so I just had to add a piece of white card and stick it over the top of my incorrectly spelt board. So it happens to the best of us. And then finally, another little loaded pocket. This is made with a journaling card, and then I've just stuck different levels. So I've got another journaling card and then a piece of cardstock, and then that's a piece of ephemera for the front with the little houses. And inside the pockets I have one of the tags, and then I have this is the life piece of ephemera, and then I have my photos. Yeah, and that's it. So they just go back inside there, and then they all go back in the box. So here is the box with nothing in. See my shaker, and then these just all load back in. So I think this is a really cute way of making a mini album. You can get really creative with the little insert cards that you put inside, and they're really good fun. So there you go, that is that one all complete. Right, so here are a few close-up photos. Like I said earlier, you will be able to see the high resolution versions of these photos in the album on the Facebook group, so please do check those out if you would like to see the detail. But here are a few close-ups. I really hope that you have enjoyed this class and have enjoyed making this mini album, and I hope the video wasn't too long. It was a very long video, sorry about that, but yeah, I hope you have enjoyed it and you can get lots and lots of memories about your house and your home in here. Thank you very much for joining me. That was session 1, Home is Where the Heart Is.